Good morning, everyone. So we'll be discussing about Rococo art today, and we will be showing to you my screen, which I got it from slideshare.com. So these were the proponents, these were the authors for this PowerPoint presentation. Credits to them. So Rococo art, we have from art, culture, and society. So we'll be discussing from what is first Rococo art. Oh. Wait for a bit. So from fall of Renaissance, Mannerism, origin of Baroque, transformation from Protestants and Roman Catholics. And then we also discussed also during the time last in our topics, age of enlightenment. And we are down now to Rococo art. So from liberalism, restoration, French Revolution, down to Rococo art. So Rococo art is a word which is a combination of a very French word rocaille, which means stones, and coquilles, which means shells, due to reliance on these objects as decorative motifs. So the term may also be combination of the Italian word barocco, an irregular shaped pearl, possibly the source of the word baroque, and the French rocaille, a popular form of garden or interior ornamentations using shells and pebbles. The style received harsh criticism and was seen by some to be superficial and poor taste. Because, kada sa gayon palang gagayin na, gigan na siya sa pearl, di ba? A regular shape ang pearl. So, for them, they become to think of it now, wala siya kapur taste, baka ayuan na, nga dira nga way nila nakuha. So, especially when compared to neoclassicism, despite this, it has been praised for its aesthetic qualities. We will know later why it has a very good aesthetic qualities. By the end of the 18th century, it replaced by the neoclassic style. So in 1835, the dictionary of the French Academy stated that the word rococo usually covers the kinds of ornament, style, and design associated with King Louis XV reign and the beginning of that King Louis XVI. Next, in 18th century, artists, movement and style affected many aspects of the art, including painting, sculpture, architecture, interior design, decoration, literature, music, and theater. We cannot, because we cannot really deny the fact that this, in every century, in every age of art, there would be an art that will emerge during that, that will develop. So this Rococo art is developed in the early 18th century in Paris, France, as a reaction against the grandeur, symmetry, and strict regulations of the Baroque or Baroque, especially of the Palace of Versailles. So Rococo artists and architects use a major jocular, florid, and graceful approach to Baroque or Baroque. So the style was ornate and used light colors as symmetrical design, curved, and bold. Baroque. Baroque. Baroque.
Baroque.
Baroque. Okay. Pause. So we need to go back again in our discussion, in the discussion. So here we have now. So some of the way they pronounce the word baroque, this is supposed to be baroque in American language and also for British baroque. So the interior decoration of Rococo rooms was designed as total work of art with elegant and ornate furnitures, small sculptures, ornamental mirrors, and tapestry complementing architecture, relief, wall paintings. So we can really see this kind of designs around our homes, no, in the furnitures, with in our tapestry, anything is part of this one. So it's more on the light colors, asymmetrical design, curves, and we have now gold. Next, how can we do this one? These were examples of the Rococo art. So we can really depict the color, the light colored and the color gold. During those times, or we have here development of Rococo, during these times in 1599 to 1667, um, it is the usually the thought of development first in the decorative arts and interior design. Its origin lie in the late Baroque or architectural work of Borromini, mostly in Rome but also in Vienna, Prague, Lisbon, and Paris. So an exotic but in some ways more formal type of Rococo appeared in France, where King Louis the 14th rather succession brought a change in the court artist and generally artistic fashion. So by the end of the king's long reign with King Louis XIV, court life moved away from Versailles and this artistic change became well established first in the royal palace and then throughout French high society. So the 1730s represented the height of Rococo development in France. So the style had spread beyond architecture and furniture to painting and sculpture, exemplified by the works of Antoinette Watt and Francois Boucher. So these were just examples. Now we can really depict the colored gold and light colors, in this example, our cocoa art. So in the 17th and 18th century, it was summer residence of the Persian kings and German emperors. During also the development of Rococo, we have emerged two artists, which is Voltaire and Jacques John David. So the beginning for this one to begin to voice their criticisms of the art. They became bolder, no? The artists during that time became bold to what they wanted to do, to what they wanted to give critic to a certain piece of art. And then they also used some shells, dragon, reeds, and concrete in contemporary interiors. So from 1785, Rococo had passed out for a fashion in France and replaced by the older and series of neoclassical artists like Jacques Louis David. Also, during the Rococo development of Rococo art, we have Enlightenment encouraged criticism of the corruption of Louis XVI and the aristocracy in France, leading to the beginning of the French Revolution in 1789. So in 1792, Louis the 16 rather, and his wife Marie Antoinette were beheaded along with the thousands of the other aristocrats believed to be loyal to the monarchy. So mga tunog, iputan silang ulo kay di na sila sunod kang Louis the 16th. So Rococo not only confined till decorative arts, but also affected the living of French high society, which, uh, which is focused on the clothing and also the fashion and the culture during in France during that time. So King Louis the 14th turned France into a beacon of art. So 30 years after the Rococo period receded, the French Revolution shook France and shattered its class system. So it became the great European Revolution of the 18th century that shaped our modern political world. So because during the time, because of Rococo art, they were all again they made this protest against, of course, the system that they had, and it made everyone made a change in the system of government. So the French Revolution heralded a new era with no monarchy, no aristocracy, and it disclosed the final chapter of the ancient Rim that lasted more than 1,000 years. So it caused a major cultural shift, not only in the visual art, but also in fashion and hairstyles. So even shoes changed radically. No? Kadila mga shoes na patinog-tindog, no? Pahapay-hapay, mo na nga tayo, napa-curl-curl. Unang last, when you see a lot of pictures from the olden times, you can really depict that, uy, no, they were really into fashion, style, and arts. Those terms are intertwined with each other. So we have interventions in Rococo. We have the discovery of oxygen, hydrogen, metric system, cataract surgery, steam engine by James Watt, steamboat, hot air balloon, parachute, French press, method to make coffee, military got uniform, in the clothing, telegraph, modern pencil, paper machine, piano instrument, is for operas, electricity by Benjamin Franklin. So we can really depict that this Rococo art has a lot of things to change in our life, which is still no, we have been using it until today. So here is something to do about music, painting, sculpture. So in Rococo, it was divided into, we have here six: music, painting, sculpture, furniture, garden, and architecture interior. So in interior design, Rococo is fully in control of sportive, fantastic, and sculptural forms, are expressed with abstract ornaments using flaming, leafy rochelle-like textures in asymmetrical sweeps and flourishes and broken curves. Intimate Rococo interiors suppress architectonic divisions of architrave, frieze, and cornice expressed in the materials like carved wood and stucco. The wall, ceiling furnitures, and works of metal and porcelain present a unified ensemble. The Rococo palette is softer and paler than the richer primary colors, and dark tonalities favored in Rococo taste, like for example, from blue, sky blue, pink, baby pink, and a more lighter colors. So faster work, POP, and ceiling was started in this era and by Italian Swiss artists like Bogotti and Arteri. So in general, Rococo is an entirely interior style, no? Interiors means sa sulod because the wealthy and aristocracy moved back to Paris from Versailles. Paris was already built up, and so rather than engaging in major architectural additions, they simply renovated the interiors of the existing buildings. No, mo ni ang rason nga no, they're more focused on the interior design, not on the external factors or the physical appearance of the whole building. Ayun. Kanamit ang mga buildings sa mga kaingon ka nga, uy, it's so simple when you see those buildings sa gawas lang niya. Before kang usulod, no? Uy, simple naman kayo. Pero pag sulod din mo, inana din interior. Ayun. Nakanga ka. You know, the lighter tones, the color gold use, no, the styles, the curves on this wall, it's engraved, no. It's also been depicted in some churches, no, this Rococo art. In furnitures and decorative objects, French Rococo art was at home indoors. So metalwork, porcelain figures, and especially furniture rose to new preeminence as the French upper classes sought to outfit their homes in their now fashionable style. So during the Rococo period, furniture was light-hearted physically and visually. Physically and visually, the idea of furniture had evolved to a symbols of status and took on a role in comfort and versatility. So mahogany was widely used in furniture construction due to its strength, resulting in the absence of the structure as seen on many chairs of the time. So mo rin ang kanang mahogany nga kahoy, mahal gina siya. No? So una pa na siya ginagamit. Example, still in furniture and decorative object, furniture could be easily moved around for gatherings, and many special forms came to be such as a futil chair, the voyage's chair, and the burger on gondola. Changes in design of these chairs ranges from cushioned detached arms, lengthening of the cushion back, and a loose set cushion. So furniture was also freestanding instead of being anchored by the wall. Apron leg stretchers have all been seamlessly integrated into a flow of opposed scrolls and rocaille, and the snot of the stretchers shows the asymmetrical contrast that was a Rococo innovation. We have here on the right side. Yun. Wood carvings less robust and naturalistic and less exuberant in a mixture of natural with artificial forms of all kinds. You have plant motifs, grotesque, masks, badges, paintings, precious stones. So we can really see on the example chair on the right, you know, how they usually made this kind of chairs. Abstract and symmetrical rococo. We have here in this one embedded, integrated in their chairs, you know, on the arms of it, of the chairs, on the bed. You know, this is more on the detail, more detailed here. Example. And ayun, no? Sa challenge kay mga bangko, no? Ina gyapon na siya. So it's more, it really depicts the royalty during that time. How people live during that time. In the painting, the Rococo originated in their spurly decorative arts. The style showed clearly in painting. So these painters used delicate colors and curving forms, decorating their canvases with cherubs and maids of love. So portraiture was also popular among Rococo painters. Portraiture. So painters turned from grand, heavy works to sensual surface delights of color and light, from weighty religious and historical subjects, though these were never ignored completely, to more intimate mythological scenes, views of daily life, and portraiture. So they're more on small pieces, the regular sizes of painting. The popularity of the Rococo style was inspired in part of the work of the celebrated painter Anton Puerto. So Antoine, elegant painting perfectly embodied the Rococo ideal of grace and playfulness. In addition, the painter's composition often were asymmetrical. The style's asymmetry in turn became an important characteristic of Rococo art and design. You can see it in this painting and over here. They still know they just work on the light colors. We also have this artist Franz Bouchour and John Moner Fragonard also created artist confections that dazzle viewers with their charm and sophistication. No, best known for his fashionable frivolous depiction of rosy cheeks, aristocratic ladies, and idealist mythological subjects. Because in Rococo, most of their subjects are still and gods and goddesses or biblical, mythological subjects. You would hear these angels, no? All painting by Boucher, John Dragonard in this one. So Fragonard's work reflect the carefree world enjoyed by France during the Rococo period. So the colors are bright and shiny, and the brush strokes are very delicate. He had a great imagination and wit, refinement that combined to create poetic canvases. Ayun, you can see it down here. No? Looking into the color from darker tones over here, then going back to the lighter tones, which is here, which is the center or the subject of this painting. Over here also, from darker tones to lighter tones, a young girl reading by Fragonard in the swing by the last here. Another one, Marie Antoinette and her children. Sculptures during that time for Rococo art was another area where Rococo was widely adopted and is widely considered as one of the best representative of French Rococo. We have Maurice Falconet. In general, this style was best expressed through delicate porcelain sculpture rather than imposing marble statues. The themes of love were reflected in the sculpture as were elements of nature, curving lines, and symmetry. So those things of those elements will really depict the theme of love. So in this connection, the French sculptors Jean Louis Lemoyne and Jean Baptiste Lemoyne and Lorraine and Louis Simon Bozon in Michael Floridon and Pigel may be mentioned in the passing. With this, the Coco art. So the sculpture here on your left by Edmé Bouchardon represented Cupid engaged in carving his dart of love from club of Hercules. This served as an excellent symbol of the Coco style that this demigod transformed into the soft child. The bone shattering club becomes the heart scathing arrows, just as a marble is so free replaced by stucco. But a very good, art sculpture. These are just some of the examples. In music, during the Rococo period, existed in music history, although it is not as well known as the earlier Baroque. So the Rococo musical style itself developed out of Baroque music, both in France, where the new styles was referred to as style galante, or as a gallant or elegant style, and in Germany, where it was referred to as FM summer style or sensitive style. So it can be characterized as light, intimate, and music with extremely elaborate and refined forms of ornamentation. So musicians include John Philippe Rameau and Louis Claude Dauphin and François Couperin in France. In Germany, the style's main proponent were Bach and Johann Christian Bach, two sons of the renowned J.S. Bach. In music, gallant refers to the style which was fashionably from 1720s to the 1770s. This movement features a return to simplicity after the complexity of the late Baroque era. So this meant simpler, more song-like melodies, decreased use of polyphony, short periodic phrases, a reduced harmonic vocabulary, emphasizing tonic and dominant, and a clear distinction between soloist and accompaniments. The word gallant, derived from the French in the early 18th century, the gallant groom described a person of fashion, elegant, and culture, and virtuous. So this is here a screen picture from the music. Gallant. Yun. The sculpture depicts an action. No, there is a movement with the sculpture, as you can see here. So Rococo period existed in music history, although it is not as well known as the earlier Baroque, as we stated earlier. And also French found landscaping and gardening as their new style statement to show royalty, grandeur, and how prosperous they were. They developed their own garden style known as the French gardens, and then it got spread throughout the Europe known as European gardens. For example, designed by Andre Lonofe. So what we see with elegant mazes are from Rococo art. So kadun sa review ng mga gardens, they just adopted it to Rococo art. Let's see how this saan yung mga naon ng mga garden na. So this was the area, designer, paint features. Ayun. Ayun. This is beautiful. You know, with a fountain in it, on the center, and some mazes and some flowers and trees. So in the winter, the Versailles Foranger's houses were more than 1,000 trees in boxes. Is under the flower bed known as Portraiture de Midi. Its central gallery is 105 meters in length, and its frontage is erected towards the south. The Portraiture bust is bordered on its south side of the balustrade. So the central gallery is framed by two side galleries. It is lit by large arc windows which enclose the lower bed. In the center is a large circular pool surrounded by 6 fields of grass. Oh, amazing. It's a really showcase how people live in this age of Rococo art. Even the grotto, kung mga grotto diba sa mga santo, was the crowd obviously a freestanding structure located just north of the chatea. So the interior, which was decorated with shell work to represent a sea cave, contained the statue groups depicting the sun god, his attendants, and his horse. So technically, the grotto dictates played a critical role in the hydraulic system that supplied water to the gardens. The roof of the grotto supported a servoy that stored water pumped for the Clagny Pond and which fed the fountains lower in the garden via gravity. Wow, amazing. Grand Canal also with a length of 1,500 meters, a width of 62 meters, was built between 1668 and 1670. So Grand Canal served as a venue for boating parties. Ayun. This is how they built the things they have. Ayun. That's why yung ganahan daghan gyud maganahan mo to France, Paris, and then some part of Europe. Because looking into this one, kani pa lang daan kay nindot siguro kay ni when you see this one physically, no? This is how they build it. Yeah. These are more on the examples of this garden that was built during that time, Coco period. They made some extension in it. Architects was so great, no? History was so rich during this time. Our history is really rich with the culture that we have from different countries. And that ends our discussion for Rococo art. I hope you learned something. Thank you.